Hello, welcome back. All right, today let's check out emphasis, and also known as emphasis and focal point. They're kind of the same. We'll go over the lecture. Then I'll talk about the research. Again, this one, just so everybody kind of remembers, it's following along. Now it switches every week, not every week. Every other session, we change from Illustrator to InDesign. We're just getting practice. We're not asking you to do big design things, but we're just getting some practice in the programs that you need to use and that you'll use every day in your life as a graphic designer. We'll check out the focal point project, and then the other new project coming at you, which is an InDesign project, and it's a little folding informational. My best word is brochure, pamphlet, one word. So we'll go over all of this today. Well, without further ado, let's just jump on in. And first, let's talk about emphasis as a principle of design. So emphasis and focal point. I'm going to move on down. Let's zoom on in, talk, and then look at images. All right, so when you design, and we're, as a designer, we're creating pieces. Later on, we'll talk about hierarchy, but there's always got to be emphasis. What is the most important thing on the piece that you want people to see? What is the most important piece of information that they should get when they look at your design piece? You are visually communicating. Hey, I got, as generalization, I got a poster, and the poster has 5 different things on it. It's got, the band name, like think about those 5 things that we're putting in our poster. But what is the most important thing that people should see when they look at the poster? The number one takeaway. How do we do that? Well, we emphasize that. We use design tools. We use all of our design elements to help us bring emphasis to certain parts of the design. Like I said, it's giving prominence, importance to certain elements in the design. And it's not always one, but what we do is we try to guide people around. I want you to look at this first, and I want you to look at this second. And and if you have time, read the small print at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? You always hear that, like the small print is put at the bottom so nobody sees it. That's done for a reason. Make sure you read the fine print. Well, we hide the fine print because even though it's important, it's not the most important takeaway that we want you to see. It's down at the bottom. It's in there. Legally, sometimes it has to be there, but it only has to be a certain size. And then it has to be, and it can be at the bottom. So we emphasize all the great stuff and de-emphasize the stuff that we don't want you to look at. So it's a very, again, psychology and design, and that's what we're going for. What is the most important? What's the takeaway? What do I want you to look at, and what do I not want you to look at? It's so much fun, like the things that we get to do in design, and the way we get to influence how people think about it, how they look at it, why why do they want to buy this product so bad? How did I design the ad so well that they're like, I just don't know. Every time I see that, I just want that one thing. Let's look at ways we can do it a little bit. Geometric shapes will help with the focal point. We'll show you over there in circles and like color. And how do we change a certain point to help you understand that focal point? Again, this right here, we can look at this. This is the most down and dirty. If we're just only looking right here, let's do it like that. My emphasis and focal point is on focal point. Why? It's the different piece here. There's a lot of text here, but this one stands out because it's bold and a little bit bigger. I'm going to say it's like 1 point bigger, if even, but it's just a tad bigger and it's bolder. And so it creates a focal point. We want to look at that first. and then read down and then see what other information is there. But I can tell right off the bat that, oh, this part is about focal point. Like it's not hidden. It's not like real small. It's not like focal point. And it's like really tiny. And then you're like, well, geometric shapes is what's big, right? No, it's focal point. I define the part that I want you to see first to have you go down to what's next. That's how we use focal point. We want, and then, like I said, it's not always just one thing we're having them look at. It's several things. And we change that up. And this is the build toward hierarchy that we'll get to later in the semester. Some considerations for emphasis and focal point. Contrast. That's a big one. Contrasting in elements like color, size, texture, all those things that we learned earlier are used, just like I said a little bit ago. All those are used in different ways to help us create a focal point. Want a focal point? I'm going to show you this in the example over there. I dare you not to look at the two words focal point. All I did was add some lines. You know what I mean? Simple, different consideration. All I did was I just added lines to it. But now you're like, oh, I can't stop looking at it. That's how we do it. What if, simple one, if I just traced over that. There we go. Not as much, but it stands out because it's a different color. It's harder to read because I drew on top of it. But like, that's what we're doing. We're finding out that part. Like, I really want people to know that. Think about maybe in that poster, you're going to create the date. The date doesn't need to be the biggest thing, but we want people to know when the date of the concert is happening. And then so it's not going to be like huge. Like we want that logo to be big because that's, to me, maybe like the highlight of the posters is the, whatever festival you picked is that logo is going to be biggest. But at some point we want to know where the dates are. So we don't want it to get lost. So even if it's in a bunch of stuff, we may just change the color. So people are like, oh, there's a color change. I should probably pay attention to that. A lot of it is, thinking of that. Maybe I should pay attention when they see it. They think maybe I should pay attention to that. We can isolate stuff. If you have an area and you're like, you have a ton of stuff here and a ton of stuff here, and then you just have one big item there, that's isolating it. And it's showing that like, okay, there's information here, but this thing seems to be standing out more than the others because we isolated it. We're having it be alone and it stick out. Placement, standardization. In our Western culture, where I am teaching from, and the development for, I gotta like say all the right things here. The development of design for our Western style, meaning it's, America, Canada, like there's certain areas, and it changes in other areas. Asian countries read differently than we do. It's all good, but you have to learn differently than that. But we go from top to bottom, left to right. So placement is usually most prominent. Generally, the easiest way is up at the top. And then as we go down, it gets less and less prominent. So usually we start at the top. Here in the Western culture, we start at the top. Does that mean it always has to be like that? Absolutely not. We can use isolation. We can use other tricks. So I could have this and the most prominent thing be at the bottom, but I'd isolate it and maybe have some things here, and everything's small. But that thing at the bottom is really stands out because I isolated and I changed it. And I went against those rules that I sort of just told you about, but it can still work. So placement is big. Color and intensity. Of course, we can, if you gray everything out and then you have bright yellow, words, people are going to see that. Like it's, let's not say gray everything because yellow and gray don't work, but black, like all black tones, really dark and moody, and then yellow in it, it's going to stand out. I change this color to yellow. It's my favorite color is yellow. Like this is going to stand out. If I draw a yellow circle there, even with this blue, yellow is going to stand out a little bit more. It's even brighter than this bright blue on the black. So we work with that. Size and scale. Okay, scroll. Oh. That's easy, right? The bigger it is, the more we're going to look at it. The smaller it is, the less we're going to look at it. It doesn't get any easier than that. If you want people to see something, you got your thing right in the middle. We're not going to not be able to look at that ugly smiley face because it's the only thing on the page and it's huge. There's a joke. I had to look it up. There's an old graphic design joke back in the day when the internet was new, and and like, it's like it was a meme. It was a meme before memes were memes, and it was for graphic designers, and it was a video of some company made a video called "Make the Logo Bigger." You can look it up. I think it's still on YouTube. I think it's 17 years old. But it was hilarious at the time, let me tell you, because that's the general consensus among designers is when you design and you have a really nice design and you put the logo and it looks really good and it's really sophisticated, the first thing the client always says is, can you make the logo bigger? Because they want their company to stand out. So that joke with size and scale is, you'll hear is like, make the logo bigger. I say that a lot to students as well. When there's room for it and usage for it, or it is hidden too much. I'm not like, make the logo as big as this face and there's nothing else around, but that's sometimes how clients see it. They just want it as big as possible. So yeah, if you're bored, get off TikTok and look up "Make the Logo Bigger" on YouTube. You'll be like, oh God, this is horrible. Let's see. And the repetition and pattern, or pattern breaks. So a pattern break is also known as an anomaly. I love that word. I remember where I learned the word anomaly, or known as a pattern break, was my first year in college in a class. It was the comparable to this class. And we were doing patterns, and then we made an anomaly, which is a pattern is like, if I have like, it's kind of hard to do it with this. If I have like all squares and then I put a circle in, that's a pattern break and it sticks out. Why is that? Because it's different. I have a square, 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 and I'm like, circle? Oh, what should I look at that circle? Maybe it's important. It's a break. Repetition helps us just because of the more we say it, the more we're going to remember it. When we do design work, there's a psychological study about learning. You need to do something at least 10 times before you'll start to remember it, to grasp it. So like, that's why a lot of the assignments I build, we do a lot of repetition. Oh, we did the same thing again. Oh, we did the same thing again. Oh, we're kind of doing the same thing again. And I do it because we need to repeat it. If you only do it once and I move on, you're going to be like, what was that thing we did like 3 weeks ago? I can't remember. But if we're kind of doing the same thing every week, but just growing on it a little bit, you're going to remember it. You know how to open a file. You know how to build a file. Like, all those things will become repetition and you're going to remember it. I don't know. I think maybe some of you growing up, they used to like monster truck rallies, and the radio or on TV, the advertisements for it would always be like Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. And why? Because they want you to know, what day is it? It's going to be on Sunday, and that was a big joke back in the day. Like, Sunday, 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 monster truck races at Pfizer Forum. And they would just keep repeating Sunday, 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 because yeah, they just want to know. I don't need to know when or like where or whatever thing, but Sunday, it's happening on Sunday. So we repeat information. Let's check out some cool examples. So I don't know if you remember, I think it was on Tuesday. My brain's a little foggy from that cold I had. But here we go. How are we emphasizing on this piece? It's all a beautiful light blue, and I'm using what I would call a complementary color, transparent color, right here. Because what do I want you to look at? Her rider blazer. And how do I know that? Because one, also on top in big letters, it says rider. And then when I follow this line down, when we talk about emphasis, focal point, and where we're going, I'm going down here. And then I pass it up and I go to blazer. So I'm looking, here's the focal point, and it's about this. And then I go down and I find out more. And then the other, which I'll call contrasting part, all the text is white, except for where to get it, Nordstrom. So all the pieces are working together to guide you, walk you through the piece so you know what you want to get. You look at it, oh, it's a blazer by Ryder. You know, and you can't stop looking right here in this orange circle. And then you come down and then it's our employee, you know, whatever this small type is, they don't care. They wrote something. It's about our employees of all personal, financial, whatever. Nobody cares. They don't want you to worry about that. It's either, I don't know, or maybe this is Ryder and she's wearing a blazer from Nordstrom, whatever. But we know where to look, how to look, and when to look because of the way they designed this piece. And I even love this. I love that. I love that break, blazer. We know that. We know to look that. It's got us guiding there. So I think that's a pretty rad piece. The word afoot. I just drew this earlier, and I always have to like hold myself from drawing it. This couldn't be more like, this is emphasis and focal point. This is even more. He's standing again in the middle. She's in the middle. He's in the middle of a background, and they basically have arrows pointing at him and the stuff you need to see. You know, like I could keep going. And then all of this is information about him. And then so you just get stuck here. You read it through. And if you know this person, sadly, I don't know who this is. The author, I think. Yeah. It all pertains to him. But this emphasis and focal point, it's all about foot. Foote. And you can't get any more clear than just doing, you know, starbursts around this and having him centralized on the piece. And a lot of these I'm pushing are really single focus, centralized on a piece. I should probably update this and do some harder ones. But, you know, when we're working with, you know, one principle here, I really want to emphasize that principle. And that's why I chose the pieces I did. But you can't not look at who this is and then find out. Again, the contrasting too. Really bright white. They darkened it down here. So this would stand out more. And you read it, and it's big. This is considerably bigger than everything else. All this other stuff, real small. Got to get up close and read it. But what's important? Him and this world that he created as being an author. Doesn't get any simpler than that. I want you to read isolation, right? I want you to only know one thing when you look at this page. What is it? Build something. They have, you know, one key saying. Build something. There's stuff there. I still look in the background, you know, jokingly. This guy's bored. He's looking down. He's like, oh, I'm looking at my phone. You know, she's kind of paying attention. they got this weird, they got this weird triangle here. I don't know. I've just noticed that now. It's like a laser beam coming out of his head. But in general, the first thing we're going to look at is this. It's the brightest thing on a dark background. You can't not look at it. Oddly, this stands out as well. But that's just because this is a website and this is the company name. But isolation, that's all it is. It's how you isolate it, and you can see it. You can't miss it. The information is there. There it is. Build something. And then you can see like they're working, so you kind of get it, you know. What a great piece. You know, so many things going on. But it's the isolations, emphasis, it's focal point. They have things, you know, building around this one focal idea. You know, wonderfully done, close up, grabs your attention, biggest thing on the page, right there in the middle. They match colors. This color is used up here and then used up here. You can almost say that would be their threes. You've heard me talk about design in threes, I believe. Like there's this color here, it's used here, and then it's within here. So they have the system of threes going on, which is a really great design system to use. But the focal point is looking at the lips. And then big words to smaller words. The things they want to emphasize more, even though it may not be in order, go the size of the text. And then here's another one to look at. All caps, all caps, all caps, all caps. Lowercase, all caps, lowercase, all caps, lowercase, and then like normal text. So they even went as so far as to use the typography to work with that as well. Changing up from all caps to regular changes the emphasis of what you're looking at as well. So when you use typography, if you want to emphasize something, what do? We either make the word bigger, we make it bolder, we can use all caps. You'll find out later on in classes that we start putting rules on what you can design, what you can do, and what you can't do in a design. And two items that we highly stress to not do is typeset in all caps because you're yelling, or typeset in all bold because you're yelling, and then there's no emphasis in what you want to do. So you only use those, bold and all caps, when you want to emphasize something. The rest of the time, it's just normal. And then this 127 hours with Mr. Franco. It doesn't get any more emphasis than this in the poster. It's a beautifully done poster. I don't know if you guys remember when this movie came out. It was all the rage. I don't know what the year it came out. But whatever. So like 8 different things going on here for focal point. We have high contrast. The brightest area is right in the middle. And I would say like the highest contrast area of the poster, let's say that, it's right here. It is placed almost directly in the center of the poster. It is this is also high contrast. We have black on a very bright yellow background. Easy to read. Here, this is also contrast. We have a blue background with orange text. Think about complementary colors. Then, if you look at this piece, it's about 127 hours. What's happening? I don't know if you guys know what this is going to be. And I fill this up, and I'm like, and it's dribbling down because it's an hourglass shape. And the emphasis of the hourglass is in the middle of time running out as it goes down. Every second counts. And again, contrasted with white text on a dark background, all caps. Everything on here is all caps because they're yelling at us. Absolutely everything is important. James was like, how dare you not put my name in all caps? And then it's just, this is just that dumb stuff they do at the bottom, that special. This is that when we talk about you need the text, you like designers want the text as small as possible at the bottom, but then the movie theater is like, we need the movie makers, like we need to add in 17 paragraphs that show everybody in who's been part of the film needs to be on the poster. And that's why they have now this weird font. This stuff is so horrible to work with. I've had to do it a few times and it's just like super skinny font. It's just horrible. But why do we do it? We want it as small and out of the way as possible. And it's basically you make it so illegible that nobody cares to read it. Isn't that funny? Like, yeah, so that's how we do it. So, yes.
I feel like that would ruin the picture, though, or the poster.
This text down here?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean by ruin it?
Like
if it was normal text?
No, I feel like it just takes away from the picture sometimes.
Yeah, you know what? But they have to have it in there. This is like, this is contract stuff. Like, the director, oh no, my name needs to be on the poster. I directed it. Oh, I produced it. My name needs to be on it. I'm the executive producer. My name better be on it. I starred in it. My name, like, and so it just goes down the line. Everybody who complained gets their name on the poster. And I've seen longer ones. Like if you look at movie posters, like there's ones that are like, I swear to God, like it's like this much of the poster is everybody's names on it. Or you think about, so all this is the part at the beginning of the movie where now they make the beginning of the movie, the intro. This is all displayed. Executive producer, blah, 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 blah. As you're listening to music and you're seeing some stuff flash by, every one of these things, you're seeing it. TV shows and movies. And it gets crazy. If you watch, it's on Disney Plus, like the Star Wars shows, the ending is 7 minutes long and it's all credits. 7 minutes of them showing every person who worked on it, which is great. They should get that notification, but like 7 minutes, like, wow, that's like, it takes a lot of people to make a show. I understand that, but you're running like a 7 minute segment of that. Like they should just kind of like put it all up like one screen and just be like, thanks to all these people and just do that. But I digress. Because, you know, when they do that, those endings are just basically scrolling through. So any other questions? Thank you for that question. Any other questions about emphasis? All right, let's get to some assignments. Switch around here. Take a drink. All right. Emphasis and focal point research. You know what we're doing here. You know the standards. I'm moving my screen over. I'm going to open it up. InDesign, we've done one in InDesign already. Let's just do another one real quick. Because something came up and I wanted to show you guys. So new file. I'm going to go to print. I'm going to change this to inches first so we don't get that mess up that sometimes happens. 16, tab 9. So it's 16 wide, 9 tall, 1 page, no facing pages. All right, we don't need facing pages. Margins and bleed are set at 0.5. This is already done. Margins 0.5, bleed 0.5. Oh, you know what? That's the other thing. I don't think I've really talked about the bleed. Or maybe I did on Tuesday. Again, a little foggy, cold. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to hit create. I'm going to pull my guides. I just had a math problem. That's why I went silent. I was like, what's 9 divided by 2? All right, so I have this set up. My rulers are on, pulled one vertical, one horizontal guide. So now when you're working, I think I talked about this. Now when we make our layers, let's go to layers. We need one called title. Again, find your layers, pages, links, layers. Then I want one called images, and then one called background. This is very similar to Illustrator. They do have a lot of differences, but the general outlook on both these programs is the same. Same as Photoshop, where you're working with layers and you're naming them so you know where things are. It's all about staying organized. I'm a big proponent of using layers. I know some people like to use these inside layers. That's a little confusing for me. I like to just see it and be able to look here and not like, I feel like when you start using the arrow to show what's inside the layer, like this is, I don't know. I don't have a good way to say it. It'd be like then seeing each single letter alone down here, which to me doesn't really help. I just want to know background is there. Now, when we do our backgrounds, what do we always do? All the way to the bleed. All right. I'm on the background. It's all the way to the bleed. I want it, and it may be confusing, but we go all the way to the bleed. We don't want our stuff cut off. Go to my favorite color. I can still see everything. I go title, and then you click on the T, and then for this one, you draw it. There's no point type in InDesign. That's where the difference is. And for helpfulness, sometimes what I do is if you draw, so I have my margin set. If I draw from here to here, or from here to here, and let's say I type in emphasis with an exclamation point, and then I'm gonna make my type different because I don't ever want to use, look at this, bad type. I wanted to say a better word. I like it. Bad meaning good. So I have emphasis, right? Now, because I'm looking at my guides, I know I made it this big and it's like 1/2 of the page and all this stuff. But also, if I was like, you know what, I want it centered, all I have to do is hit centered. And because I have a guide here, a margin here, this word is perfectly centered. I don't have to think about it. I'm not doing this where it would be, you know, sometimes we want to go in and scroll back down. And then I'm like, okay, I think right about here is centered. Like, why even do that? Like, don't even think about it. Like, you should just turn that idea off and just be like, from here to here, it's perfectly centered. There I go. The computer did it for me. Now, this is like, now I'm going up the pro level tips, all right? Put your hats on, pro level. If you mistakenly have a space, oh, it's not doing it. Oh, they fixed something. It used to be if there was spaces, it would nudge it to the left or right, and it would take into account that that was a letter. They don't do that anymore. That's amazing. I just learned something. I'm so used to just, I don't mean to be a jerk, doing it the right way that when I purposely do mistakes now, I'm like, oh, they fixed that old weird mistake. Okay, so that's the title. I'm going to put the title at the top. Lock that out. Images. For images, we go to File, Place. On my computer, I found a weird one. Open. There we go. All right. Perfect, right? No, we got to go to Free Transform Tool. And I'm going to hold down, for me, it's Shift and Option. So it scales it from the center. So you can do Shift, or if you hold down Option and check what kind of type of computer you're on, just look up the same thing. Now I'm going to put 3 in here. And I noticed this, I just had a student do this. All that same tricks work. And I think I explained this. I'm just going to copy and paste the same one, but make them different sizes. Copy, paste. Just for sake of argument. Free transform. Like this one. Whoa. That's what happens when you hit the wrong key. Skew it. And then copy, paste. Free transform. Make sure I'm on it. That should be kind of 3 different sizes. Now, again, all that same stuff happens. If I line an image up with this edge here and an image up with this edge here, and I have that, I know just starting off using this margin, I have a perfect spacing on each side, which just means I grab all 3 of those, scroll on down to distribute spacing and hit that. Now, what just happened? I'll answer for you. I have it set to artboard. So what do? Well, you just go back and you fix that. So I want distribute spacing. You go to align, and I want align to selection. And all I'm going to do is just do this. Don't get frustrated. Guess what happened though? I think these are perfectly centered then. And I just move those in, and we go back down. Double check, align to selection, distribute spacing, and it was perfect. I mean, I'll move this. Don't ever get frustrated. It's a computer, and it's and then what do you want them centered with each other? And then so what did I say? So talk it through. I often talk through design. I want them centered with each other. Yeah. Oh, now I want them centered on the page. They sort of already are. But to double check, now I go to align to page. And if I hit center here, it just nudged them up like 1 pixel. Talk out what you want to do. I actually don't want them this high. If I was doing this for myself, I'd bring them down because I'd put the titles up here then. It's just as easy to do it in these programs as it was the other ones. I've seen some of you applaud like adding pages. You can add a page. Here, it's almost sometimes easier to add a page if you can just hit a plus, or if I just drag this page to this plus, it makes an exact copy of it. So if you're like, I want emphasis on every page at the top, you kind of set up a base. Getting into parent pages, you'll learn in InDesign, and I won't teach you that now, but now I have 2 pages, and you can do what you want, and you scroll up and down to see which page you're on. Page 1, page 2. You double click on it to make sure you're on it. I should make a difference so you can see that difference. So if I double click there, it goes to page 1, double click there, it goes to page 2. Play around. And if you, always ask me questions. If you're like, I don't know, I want to do this one thing, I can't figure it out. I'll tell you how to do it. You reach out to me. The other one, YouTube. I did it yesterday. I wanted to, I was like, I want to do this dot half toning and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, you know what? Just YouTube it. YouTube, 1 minute. I was like, oh, there it is. That's what I want to do. Played around, got what I wanted to do. So you know what to do with the rest of that. All right, emphasis and focal point project. Let's download it. Let's go over here. This one's a weird one. You have type and compositions. You are to use the word at the bottom as the word you're going to type up here. What I did is I took a different word because I didn't want to take somebody's word. So your 3 words, this box is hierarchy. Well, this box is hierarchy. This box is typography, and this box is alignment. When we speak, we use emphasis, hierarchy, typography, alignment. we say them in a certain way. We don't just say emphasis. We're not robots. That's how we discern that difference. Like there's no emphasis in the word. I wrote the word emphasis using all sorts of typography in a way that you would say it. Emphasis. That's the way I say it. Emphasis. I had some fun. I typed things out, moved them around, like thought about it. How do you do that? Well, you can just type out certain parts. If I was like hierarchy, 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 hierarchy. So maybe I'll do like H-I-E-R and archy. But you just can type out. And this is, I'm going to give you a hint and like what I do. I'm only going to do part. Let's say that's quiet. And I'm always holding shift. Try not to, don't get in the habit like I want it smaller. And so I'm going to make it smaller like that. Pick a font that looks like that. Don't just smush. We don't smush typography. We don't smush imagery. There's always a version out there that has what you want. Somebody, as I've said before, it's like social media. Do you want me to post pictures of you with a smushed face everywhere on social media? Or do you want yourself to look like you? You want to look like you. People go through a lot of work to create typography, so it shouldn't be smushed or mushed. If you want it, really small and condensed, find one. Arial narrow. That's maybe you want it more narrow. So if you want it more narrow, you can go on the internet. But one thing I do, and what I did here, well, partly because I didn't want you to download my fonts, is you can then outline this font. So when you get it where you want, you can outline it, type, create outlines, and now it's shapes. And sometimes I find it, because then you can do that. I have shapes, and if I go to object ungroup, and I'm going to zoom in even more. Now these are just shapes, as you can see. And each one's its own shape. So I can like move them around. And maybe it's like a song, like hierarchy, like maybe I want to do that. So what I did is I typed it out normally. H-E-R. And then go to type, create outlines, object, ungroup, and there we are. And you can play with the letters alone and have some fun. If you're in my Illustrator class, you do that. That's a great way to play around. Instead of like just working with the entire word, that's how you can do that. And all these are, this is just regrouped. If I go to object, ungroup, these three, like it, came from different types. And then, so these are separate groups. And then object, ungroup, now they're separate letters. So you can group and then group again, and then group again, and then group again. So what I want you to do in this upper part is type out, have me read hierarchy in the way you would say it, with emphasis. Typography, type it out in the way we'd say it. Alignment, type it out in the way we'd say it. For composition 1, 2, and 3, I have a little dot, a 1 and a 2, a 1 and a 2, a 1 and a 2. I want you to guide the eye somehow from 1 to 2. So for this piece, I use this a lot. And you come in from the edge, you go by 1, you go past 2, and you go off the page. I'm guiding your eye, and I'm making sure you see something first and then second. I'm emphasizing the first thing, leading you to the second. I got a drawings. I can show you some drawings I did. I got it now. Nope. later. Nope, that's not your class. All right. I'm going to zoom in so you only see one at a time. And you get an idea. Here's an example. Look here. Look is big, here is small. I'm going to look at look, but I want to also then go here. Look here. What? I'm starting here and I'm moving there. I have a big baseball. 1, then 2. The baseball is big. I'm looking at it first, but then I'm looking, where's it going? And it's going to smash that window. So emphasize the subject matter, but lead me to the second subject matter. Emphasize and lead to 1 and then 2. You can even do it with pattern. Here's a simple idea. There's a pattern of squiggles, you know. The 2 that are emphasized are dark, but the first one is big, the second one is small. So I'm leading you. If you look at this pattern without the areas, you eventually go, oh, 1 and then 2. You're like, what? Well, that's what I want you to do. Figure out ways in these compositions to get from 1 to 2 in a fun, creative way. Guide me around. This last one, this is tricky. This goes against all, you know, everything we're talking about. I got to go from 1 to 2. What? That's just crazy talk. But you guys can do it. I know you can. I've seen your work. I've seen some amazing work. So yeah, any questions on that? All right. The final project. Project B. Template, research, and thumbnails. Use whatever program you are comfortable using to gather the information and set up the start of the project. The reason we're doing it in these presentations is that it's a good place to store all of your information for the project, you know. And I have a little Project B template. You can look through. It is almost exactly like the other one, except we have new information. We are not doing a concert poster. We are doing a informational piece about a graphic designer of your choice. So it's a informational pamphlet. It is a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper folded in half. So you'll have a cover, 2 inside pages, and a back cover. Simple. It's fairly simple. I'll get through all of it. You're just going to get stuff from the internet, and you're going to be working in InDesign. So, but that's for the final piece. That's the final piece. Don't worry about that fully now, okay? That's just a program we're going to be using, because remember, we set up that design piece already in layout. That's what you're going to use to actually lay it out. So create a working presentation template. There's an example there for you. Follow the simple provided template. Discover a graphic designer that you'd like to work on. Anybody in the graphic design world, from this country, from a different country, dead, alive, female, male, your choice. It's very easy. Now, just like those little kind of like postcards that I had you just like piecing things together, it's very similar, but a little bit more information. So gather the following items for your pamphlet from the internet. We need the graphic designer. I want their name and a photo of them. Should be doable. I've found it 8 times, whatever, you know, for those projects. I want a minimum, and it can be more, of 5 examples of their work. And make sure it's their work. Sometimes the internet is a little bit janky, and it'll have people who are emulating said person's work. Generally, most graphic designers have their own website in which you can just kind of grab the images from. So a minimum of 5, find more. I want 2 paragraphs about the graphic designer. Who are they? What did they do? Where did they come from? Working on. This, get it however you want to get it. Again, a lot of times there's about sections for most graphic designers. All that information I found for all those graphic design pieces that you already did about graphic designers, if you even read it, I just got that from the internet. 90% of the time I got it from their about page or from, I don't think I ever used Wiki. But I may have also used ChatGPT. I think it sometimes works pretty good if you know it. But then I want a site. Also, this is a little bit big. I want a site where you got the written information from. So don't use ChatGPT. Let's not do that then. And a site meaning it's probably from the website. All right. I will say you can use Wikipedia. You're not supposed to, but this is less about the information in the end, and it's going to be more about the design. That is why I am not asking you to write a paper in which you need to gather and put together the information yourself. I'm looking for you to get paragraphs of information in which I want you to typeset. I'm more concerned about the typesetting than where you got it. So if you use Wiki, I'm fine with it. Nobody's going to bust you on this one. I'm not going to. Then I want 3 thumbnail sketches for your pamphlet. Again, the final size of the pamphlet is 11 wide by 8.5 tall. So I said 8.5 by 11 before, and I was wrong. It's 11 by 8.5. Make sure your sketches are proportional. And what we're going to do is you're just going to go through and you're going to think like, okay, I need to put all these things into it. How do I do that? Well, here's a general pamphlet layout. And I wanted you, just like that other one, to understand again how design is laid out properly. Because coming into it, I even like, to this day, if I have a multi-page project, I have to draw it out, then cut it out of paper and fold it. So I get a really good understanding of like where everything is going to be when it's finally designed. Because I would say 90% of the time, if I told a student to design a front cover and a back cover, they'd put the front on the left, the back on the right, because we're in the Western world and that's how we read. But it's actually the front cover is on the right, the back cover is on the left, because once we fold it in half, and this is our fold, the cover is on, like opens on the left-hand side. So that's why. It seems confusing. Get a piece of paper, just fold it in half. That may help you. Little sketches, just sketch them out. Sketch some ideas out. I think I got some here. Oh yeah, like a lot of crap on top of this. So like here, as you can see, let's change this to red. Like I have the image, a photo, I have the person's name. I put the sites on the back. So this would be front cover. This is back cover. It's supposed to be a B. And then the inside pages, and I have 1, 2, 3. I did 6 images. 5, 6, and then the paragraphs of information go in there. That's a sketch. Didn't take me very long. Just drew it up. This is what I want to do. Here's like another idea. If I like the inside pages, maybe I have a photo of the person here, all the information. This is 1, 2. What's that? 1, 2. And then I did like a gridded system of their images. Oh, I have no idea where I just drew. Don't worry, that's for another project. Here's more. These are all them broken out. However you kind of want to lay things out, just lay them out. Add design, think about the designs, think about colors. Do I want, like, here's the name up here. Here's a big, that's their face. These are all basically the same. But yeah, play around do some sketches. Sketches are meant to be quick, easy, and they just get your ideas out on the page. That way you're not thinking about, oh, the program. No, I don't want you to think about the program. I want you to think about the design you're going to use. Any questions about that project? All right, cool. Well, that's all I have for today. Have some fun. Have some fun with this. There's some cool projects in there. I'm working with the type and developing and starting to do some real designs now, quote unquote, real designs. Yeah. So if you have questions, you know how to reach me over the weekend. You just chat, text, discussion boards, messages, like 8,000 ways. Do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions, comments, or concerns. I will get back to you generally within 24 hours, or I'll let you know if something came up and it's going to take me longer, just so you know I got your message. You're not hanging on. Yeah. Thank you very much. Take care. If I don't talk to you over the weekend, I'll see you on Tuesday. All right. Take it easy. Bye-bye.